Greetings and salutations, fellow denizens of the planet Earth, and anyone listening beyond.
Hey, if we have alien fans, hi.
Yeah, give us a comment.
Thanks. I don't normally interrupt the intro, but thanks. Go ahead.
I'm Eric J. Chuckie. This is my accompaniment, as always, the boy.
Hey.
He's looking to meet hot single aliens, not in his area.
Who am I, Shepherd?
You should go. This is Two Nerds Podcast. Before we get into everything, I haven't gotten to say this because of how we record shit, and you're not going to hear it on the next couple of episodes of either this or our really cool Journey of Wrestling show, which happens on Thursdays. But I published my 6th book. You can buy it. There's a link in the description. And I would be very happy if you did. And then, I don't know, tweet it at me about, man, what a great book. But if you have any shitty opinions, I will not listen to them.
But buy the book still, though.
Yes. And you can tweet me your shitty opinions, and we'll pretend I don't mute you. If that makes you happier.
There you go. Like, comment, subscribe. Liking and commenting together do good things.
Yeah. Like, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus.
Yeah. Rob is good. White has a Patreon. Links for that in the description.
If I had more than one patron, I would post stuff there.
There you go. All right. I think that wraps it up. Let's talk wrestling.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, and this is a bit monumental. We have a lot of wrestling to get through to it. I don't want to dwell on this for too long, but let's talk about getting out of your comfort zone, kids.
Yeah, so the last wrestling podcast we did, you may know, was AEW, in sharp contrast to the wrestling podcasts that preceded it. And up until then, we hadn't really been watching weekly wrestling television since, by and Lord, it's been a decade, I'd imagine.
It was before this podcast.
Yes, well before this podcast started. So,
the podcast as a whole, not this exact podcast.
I mean, well before that.
I mean, it is still true because of how time works, theoretically.
But, so this is a Supercard. This isn't a pay-per-view. It's 2 Supercards we're doing this podcast on, actually. Dynamite and Rampage.
Which is 4 hours of wrestling, which is still less than your average WWE program, and full of way less unnecessary interstitials and video packages.
Yeah, it's more wrestling per unit of time, and about as long as your average WWE pay-per-view for 4 years.
And so spread out between two different days of the week, so you got a whole ass 2 days, day to relax.
Yeah.
And not think about wrestling for a minute.
So, altogether, better structure. And he's right, we have a lot of wrestling to go through, and I don't want to be here forever. So I don't want to dwell on this too much either. But I want to shout out how great I find this Supercard structure. This is fun. Important actual stuff is happening on TV. They've only got so many pay-per-views per year. Only having so many pay-per-views makes it feel better to buy them. Mm-hmm. And this lets things feel like they're continuing and moving forward. And another thing about AEW that I love, that I'll shout out right up here at the top, is storylines move forward. And then feuds end, and then they move on.
It's funny how, and before we flow into this, one more thing I wanted to say. Obviously, Extreme Rules was Sunday.
We're not going to be watching that.
Yeah, I mean, by the time you have watched this, we won't have watched Extreme Rules. We did this, and then I became even more disappointed with the WWE as both a product and a conceptual space.
I'm happy for Roman Reigns that he's finally getting to be good. I was an apologist for him for years when he was stuck with a shitty gimmick, and I'm very smug to be right about how good he is.
He doesn't need you anymore.
No, he's good. He's up. He's lifted up now. I'm really happy for Big E getting his. That's great. Here's the problem, guys. The company you work for is garbage, and I hate all their products. So we're going to be watching this now.
I might still buy the video game if the AEW one sucks, but that remains to be seen.
That is presupposing the AEW one sucks.
And it looks pretty neat.
So
anyway. Yeah, it's so weird after so long of expecting a storyline to have this weird, I don't know, denouement, little play
like
out.
a little post-coital section where the players kind of have to like nod at each other and go, all right, we did that, and now we're done with it, and maybe we'll have one or two more weird matches that don't mean anything, and then we'll float away from each other. No, somebody wins, somebody loses, gimmick over, moving on. Yes,
other stuff happens. Like, it's just wonderful to see. But as we've said a million times, we have a lot of wrestling to get through, and only so much time to get through it. So let's begin with one hell of a beginning.
Yeah, someone on the internet made this observation. I think it's a really good one. That the way they started these supercards is a great way to train your audience that they need to watch live, and they need to be on time, because both supercards started with one hell of a ballsy call. This one, the first one, Dynamite, because we're going to be covering these in order, started with fucking Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega as the curtain jerker.
I like this for a couple of reasons. First of all, as a booker of fake internet wrestling, I feel sometimes it's very smart, instead of a lame, shitty match, to begin with something that, like, sets the pace. Would I have started with Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson? No. That's so fucking big. But, like, I don't disagree with this. That's a, what do you usually say, bold move, Cotton? Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. And it did.
Yeah, this was an incredible contest. And honestly, given the ending, maybe I would have started with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think it was altogether the right call. One, so I have mentioned on this podcast before that I had hype backlash for Kenny Omega for a long time, and seeing him in AEW, actually seeing him put in work and do what he does, really helped me understand why people might really like him, although I didn't think I'd ever really be that person. And I've mentioned a billion times how I have issues with the previous Daniel Bryan and how toxically over he was that made it hard for me to like him as a performer. This match did more to sell me on both those guys than I could have possibly imagined beforehand. This was so good!
I mean, like, the name change is obvious because he's no longer with the WWE, and the WWE changed his name to hold copyright over it, like psychopaths. But this is the return of the American Dragon.
Yeah, at one point he pointed to Kenny Omega and said, he's going to get his fucking head kicked in, which, as I understand, was his catchphrase before.
One of many. It's so another problem with this show, quote unquote, talking about this show is a lot of it is, man, what really good wrestling. These wrestlers wrestled really well.
So, we're going to try not to do that too often, such that it becomes annoying, but I am going to have to point it out on several occasions because it was really fucking good pro wrestling, and especially this match.
It leaves also a dearth of things to necessarily talk about. This was a 30-minute spectacle that reached a time limit draw.
Great call for their first match.
I also love because they used the time limit draw.
Which, that can't remember the last time that's happened.
It's been a bit. And usually if a wrestling company does it, it's like you've never heard anybody talk about a time limit in 30 years, and then suddenly the announcer's like, scheduled for a 15-minute time limit.
Conspicuously, we're going to mention this when we never do. I see what's going to happen here. Whereas AEW makes it part of the firmament. They almost always mention the time limit. So you kind of gloss past it. But then when something comes to a time limit draw like this does, you're forced to reflect, oh no, they established that. That's really good and surprising.
It's one of those things where, like, it seems like something you can just gloss over in terms of production, in terms of the setting up your wrestling event. But if you don't, it gives you that many more opportunities. Like, this match is scheduled for one fall. What if you had a match scheduled for 2 falls? Why not use that?
And they do that sometimes.
Very fucking rarely, though.
No. Yeah, very rarely. And it would be cool to see more of.
Yes.
And
now WWE did that on live TV during their Vince McMahon has said we are not allowed to wrestle during the commercials era. They would do a bunch of 2 fall matches so that they could have one fall appear before the commercial. Commercial happens and the other fall happens later. And That's not a great way. Like, use it for a reason.
Use it for reasons that aren't related to. We have to sell commercial time.
Yeah, that's shitty. But yeah, this was an incredible contest. I don't think I have to say that. If you haven't watched it, what the fuck are you doing?
Do so. It was fucking great.
Yeah.
It's such good. It is the best version of independent wrestling that I have seen, at least. Because it is very stylistically different. You wouldn't think it's that much of a gap, but...
Well, and WWE works so fucking safe.
And these guys don't. They did some spooky shit.
That the smallest spooky move is like, oh god, everyone's going to die. He did a DDT.
But like these guys did some spooky shit, and more than that, it was just really, really fun to watch. They told a really good story.
They did.
And I'm gonna say it. This is. I don't even think it's close. This was match of the nights.
This was definitely the best match.
Which is part of the reason why I, as someone who books fake internet wrestling stuff, would be hesitant to start with this, because, as CM Punk said right afterwards, how do you fucking follow that?
With CM Punk promo reset, to make sure your audience is fucking exhausted from hype, and then doing your card as normal. I think with the time limit draw being the finish, no, don't put it at either of the main events.
No, that's a bad way to end a show.
The way they did end the entire event, because this was filmed all at once in front of the live crowd, was smart. In fact, that's an easy move. And we'll get to that when we get to that. But let's move into the next contest, which was Brian Pillman Jr. versus MJF. I like this feud.
I am startled Brian Pillman Jr. lost.
I feel like it's going to keep going.
I feel like it is too, but like, I am startled he lost. That is longer build than I expect, not just from WWE, but from any wrestling company.
And furthermore, I mean, this has only been going like a month. I guess maybe we're just used to watching, you know.
It's only been going from a month, but the heat has been very high internally.
Sure.
The personal stakes have been very high. MJF has said some fucking wild shit.
Hell, it's only been going for a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah, and like, I wouldn't expect that level of escalation to be met with a heel victory from almost any wrestling company. I'm a little startled.
Well, it does a couple of things. First of all, it makes MJF look strong after being beaten by Chris Jericho.
After beating him 3 consecutive times, it must be said.
Over the last year, yeah. But it reminds us that MJF is a contender. It doesn't make him a loser, you know what I mean?
Which is a problem heels in general can have.
Secondly, it sets up further storytelling because MJF won by submission. So that puts over his submission move, which we're not as familiar with these wrestlers, so we don't know them as well.
I don't know names much, sorry.
And I can't remember. This was like a week ago.
But like, and it puts it over strong because Pillman tapped pretty much instantly.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And it came out of nowhere. And, you know, then when they have another match, they've got that opportunity to tell a story around Pillman needs to avoid that move.
Avoid the move or, you know, tap into the babyface fire and gut it out or however they want to tell the story. Or maybe Pillman just fucking loses this feud.
Sure, that's entirely possible. Heels are allowed to win feuds to look good.
If you're going to build up a heel, you got to actually build him up.
And I don't blame you for picking MJF because
he's fucking phenomenal. Great. He's great at his job. He's so unbelievably hateable.
Overall, an okay match. Here's one I do have a lot of praise for, though.
Okay.
Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, you were talking about this. Go, tell the people.
Okay, all right. So, I follow wrestling news. And of course, we've been watching the weekly shows since CM Punk came back.
Yeah. Still plan on continuing that for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's been fun, especially these shows. It's just a couple hours out of the week, and it's spread over 2 different days, so whatever. But Malachi Black showed up, axed Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes went away to film something, one of his many projects.
Or go have a surgery or something.
Whatever he did. Buy a new cape. That could have feasibly taken a couple of months.
Yeah, he's so much cape.
That's a lot of cape. But this has become a pattern where somebody new shows up, axes Cody Rhodes. Cody goes away for a couple of months because he got so axed, and so he can film a thing.
So he can film a thing, or do public appearances, or do press for AEW.
Cody Rhodes comes back the conquering hero and beats the shit out of the bad guy who's been raising hell in the meantime.
This has been a good establishing pattern, to be honest. A good way of building up your heels, a good way of building up your Fed as it gets started. But AEW is pretty well established now, and people like Malachi Black.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly the bad guy, but like,
he's really cool, though.
Yeah, he's incredibly cool. So there was a bit of, I don't want to call it cynicism, but it was like fear. You know, not like this is going to happen, more like I don't want that to happen. First of all, because it's become predictable. Secondly, as you said, because people like Malachi Black. That Cody was going to come in as a conquering hero and beat up Malachi Black and
win.
Instead,
and do the thing they usually do. And people like Malachi Black and want to see him succeed, and they're kind of tired of that storyline.
And they didn't do that. They did the smart thing. And while I feel, and you as well, you pointed it out, there were some audibles called along the performance in this match.
I am convinced they started this match with Malachi as just playing heel and Cody wrestling face, and changed partway through. They may have changed to like a more neutral footing, or just did a full switch in terms of how they performed on the day. But by the end of that match, Cody, I swear, was wrestling heel.
He was doing more heelish stuff.
Because he heard the audience, heard he was getting boos, audibled, and put on a better show. That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Unless he just knew he was going to get boos from jump, which one could discern. Because he did have that mixed reaction.
And if so, he played me like a fucking harp from hell.
Yeah.
Because it looked like an audible to me.
Either way, extremely professional decision, incredible storytelling move to subvert Cody's pattern.
And you know, it still keeps Cody looking strong. There is some cheatery going on. Malachi kind of stole the win. And, like, good, because you want your big conquering babyface to look strong, and then they can move on. Because I imagine Cody's eventually going to win this feud.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Maybe he'll move on to something else and have Malachi do something else. It's hard to say.
That is true. Again, heels are allowed to win.
And Cody's a busy man. And maybe it's going to take him to Garth Marenghi's dark places. He's like, you know, I couldn't beat Malachi Black. What do I do now?
Speaking of, I am convinced he was dressed as fucking Homelander for that match.
I've seen a lot of stuff in the post, and yeah, most people
And if so, then I might be wrong, and he knew he was gonna get boos. Mm-hmm. Because going in as like the conquering good guy who has all this good press, but is secretly hateable and shitty, and dressing like Homelander is some fucking next level costuming.
I do want to give a shout out to Arn Anderson for accidentally falling off of the ring and then getting back up onto the apron to do the spot where he got knocked off the ring at 63 years old.
Because, I mean, that was clearly just an absolute botch. He fell. He's old. And he slipped. And then Cody went out to check on him because that's the thing I'm supposed to do here. And also maybe he was concerned about his friend who fell. And I like that Arn was like, get back in the ring. I'm Arn Anderson. I'm fine.
That being said, let's enter into a match with a man who is 1 year younger than Arn Anderson. Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR.
I didn't see this match. No fault of the people in the match. I really like Darby Allin. I could give less of a shit about FTR. I'm using that correctly. I, in fact, could give less of a shit. They have managed to come up from where they were. And Sting is great. But reality is what it is. It was live TV, so I was in the bathroom that whole match. And then I never really felt like going back to watch it later.
Yeah. If you were more of a fan of Sting, like actually a big fan of Sting, I would almost demand you watch it at gunpoint.
But
or
I'm
finger
not,
gunpoint.
But I'm not.
Because I don't own a firearm.
I was never WCW guy.
Right. I have really become impressed with Sting's career since the last few years, going back and watching Nitro and just learning more about the guy and how he came to be and how he's mostly just a weird meathead. But
most wrestlers are just weird meatheads, man.
I mean, these days, no.
Well,
but
no,
like back in day, yeah. But sometimes you'd have like an incredible, like, refined, erudite genius man who's like, and I also do the graps. Sting is not that man. But I do like him, and I like his cool snow entrance, and wow. I mean, 1,000% credit to FTR for doing the other half of the wrestling.
Making the babyface look good.
I would approach saying, at 62 years old, Sting can still kind of go.
I mean, good. It's good to hear that he wasn't destroyed.
No, by Seth Rollins. This was a 9-minute match, 9.5 minutes. It was a tag match, so he had plenty of time to rest. And that's smart use of your 62-year-old man.
And like a tag partner to help carry the energy of the match through.
Yes. Yeah. But because of the way this match was built, Sting looked fucking good. And they scored a believable submission victory.
That's cool.
It was cool. It was a good match. Was it the best match in the card? No, far fucking from it. But it was a quality match. It was better than some of the matches I watched on Rampage, for example.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. If you like Sting, I would say try to watch the match. It's worth your time. It's good to see old Sting wrestling. Of course, Darby Allin and FTR put on a great show. FTR has been delightfully less botchy than they were when we watched them in WWE.
We have watched, I missed this one, but I've watched 3 FTR matches since we started watching AEW again. And in no match has either Cash Wheeler or Dax Harwood fucked something up royally and completely. Whereas every single Revival match I ever watched, one of those two motherfuckers botched something absurdly badly.
I mean, the one guy's hand came out before we showed up, so,
And they're having a good run. In the little placard that says number of days since terrible, awful botch, they haven't had to erase it and draw a little 0 in a while now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like them.
I don't think I'll ever like them.
Actually, I do have a bit of respect for them because they were the ones who were like, Vince wanted to put them in like weird dumbass outfits to punish them for daring to say things.
And they were like totally down for it so long as Vince was willing to push tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
We will carry the ring to Mordor. We will carry this burden so long as you actually push tag teams. And Vince went, oh no, I'm Vince McMahon, I do what I want.
If you're not going to be upset about it, then it's no fun.
Your suffering is why I'm doing it. Don't you understand that? Look, they're respectable professionals. They clearly believe and have a big passion for tag team wrestling, and they put their money where their mouth is. When Vince made it clear that he didn't give a shit about tag team wrestling, they fucking quit. That's brave.
Yeah.
But like as performers, I don't care. They're like the reverse Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is an amazing pro wrestler. He's really good. Everything he does makes him so insufferable besides that. These two dudes seem like perfectly fine, respectable gentlemen who, wouldn't be trying and awful to be in the same room with. But boy howdy do I not care about their pro wrestling.
Moving on to the main event of Dynamite. Dynamite, as the cool kids call it. Ruby Soho finally getting her match from the Battle Royal against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, for the AEW Women's World Championship.
1, I like this was the main event of night 1. 2, I like that Ruby Soho went from, as Britt Baker so accurately pointed out, sitting at catering for a year to being the main event of one of I think the most... the largest non-WWE wrestling event in 20 years.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I wish she'd put on a better performance for a number of reasons. 1, I really like Ruby Soho.
She's cool.
Yeah,
good.
She's got a good look. She's a good wrestler. I've seen a lot of great performances out of her.
This was not her best match.
She had missed about a half step this night, and
she
I feel
was
bad.
Clearly a little rusty.
Yeah, something was going on there. But Britt Baker was great, and Jamie Hayter and Rebel were also fantastic. So I appreciated the contest. It was lacking in finality a bit.
I mean, like, you could clearly go further with this, or it could be that the Battle Royale to this match was just a good way to introduce Ruby.
Oh, I meant more for the card itself. Now, obviously, as I said before, it's because it was all taped at once, so this was your mid-show match for the live crowd.
And then they took a break and then actually...
continued on with the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And this is a good main event, don't get me wrong, but I felt the energy wasn't complete.
And thus it's good that we have Rampage to move right along to.
Yes, Britt Baker won, if that wasn't clear. Moving on to Rampage, as you, an internet person, pointed out, show up on time, which I nearly didn't because of a grocery run. Powerhouse Hobbs versus CM Punk. CM Punk's first match back on TV, not pay-per-view. Obviously, he already had that, and it was very good.
And they're gonna ring the return of CM Punk for every first it has available to it.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, clearly.
I am
Why wouldn't you?
Violently disappointed, even though I liked this feud with Taz. CM Punk's last televised match, as I learned on Instagram, I'm not quite the font of knowledge as I might sound, was against Billy Gunn.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Why wouldn't you bookend it?
Why wouldn't you have him leave? Come in the same way he left, fighting Billy Gunn.
And they just turned heel, so you could have had this.
Because CM Punk clearly wants to work with younger talent.
And Billy Gunn's kids don't need help. They have a Billy Gunn strapped to them to take them to the moon. But that would have been a nice little parentheses. And, CM Punk versus Billy Gunn, I would have marked pretty hard.
Yeah,
I would have marked really fucking hard.
You would have. This was a fine match. I like, what do they call him? Harlem Meat?
Yeah. Powerhouse Hobbs reminds me of every wrestler Teddy Long managed in WCW, and I'm here for it.
He's good.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
He's fun.
Taz on commentary was a fucking gem.
A
jewel.
Never let him away from the commentary desk. I forgot how much I missed Taz on commentary.
His voice carries like a
dove.
Like a dove.
Japanese in a Red Hook accent is fucking ridiculous, by the way.
Just in this entire match where he was like managing out loud, like the same jawing you do at ringside, but on commentary.
On commentary, without pause. It was such a beautiful, like, it was not the kind of bipartisanship, rather, you get normally from like a heel commentator, where they're clearly rooting for the bad guy, but also that's kind of because they're just as shit. Taz was like rooting for his guy. Like, that's his guy, and he's rooting for him. He's like a sports fan here.
It wasn't the intellectual smug. It wasn't Don Callis.
Yeah, it wasn't Don Callis.
It's my boy!
I'm so excited for him. I hope he does super well. It was a TV match. It wasn't as good as the pay-per-view match.
No.
Punk...
He dropped an elbow. That was kind of nice to see.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
But, like, he wrestled the match. He wrestled the CM Punk match.
He was back in his tiny pants, though. That was a good choice.
I feel like the pay-per-view match, having the tights, and then he felt confident, so he went back to the trunks.
Let's continue to roll into the Super Click.
Oh, hold on. Punk wins, if that's not clear.
Yeah, Punk absolutely won. And it was a good match, good psychology. Like, it wasn't a pay-per-view quality match, but it was definitely good.
3 things about the Super Click. One, I gather that's a PWG thing, is where that stable originated. That is to say, the Young Bucks and Adam Cole.
Okay.
2, that name's great. That name's fucking great.
Oh, yeah.
I love that name.
Yeah. 1,
that's a great reference to wrestling lore. 2, that's a great pun. I love that fucking...
I mean, it's all that Bullet Club ever was. It was just in Japan, so they were also gaijin.
Yeah.
Like, it was a send-up, and
of what Paul Levesque got overdoing.
Or what the NWO got overdoing, or both, but,
this match made me like the Young Bucks more. Every match I see them in makes me like the Young Bucks more.
They were up against Christian Cage and Jurassic Express, for the record. This was a really good match.
Yeah, it was. It was fun as fuck.
The person we watched it with, I was talking with about afterward, and I said the match I was looking forward to the most on this card was that tag match. And I was stretching to try to remember everybody's names, and she's like, "Oh, you mean the one with Chris Jericho? Oh, no, the other one. Oh, it was the one with the Young Bucks. That was really cool. Oh, no, the other one." But they were all really good tag matches. This one was a lot of great action. I like a beleaguered referee who really would just like to keep control of the match, but what is he going to do?
This match, again, I must say it every time. I really think this match was cool and fun to watch, but this match, boy howdy, JR must be pissed.
Maybe that's why he wasn't commentating on
It's
the
like
show.
his personal bugbear when
Yeah.
people just completely disregard the referee.
It
is peak indie wrestling nonsense to pretend the rules are like a polite fiction everyone adheres to, which they are, but it's degrades the underlying fiction.
Sure. Well, and there's some stuff. First of all, that they've been saying on commentary and the way the referees are acting and the referees that are in these matches, okay? I would like to point this out. First of all, it's not their main event ref. It's not their senior referee who's deciding these matches.
Right.
Secondly, or maybe it is, and I don't know. But secondly, it's not Aubrey Edwards, who is very no-nonsense and will get in a wrestler's face.
Yeah, Aubrey Edwards is consistently portrayed as, no, these are the fucking rules of the wrestling match. You're going to do what I said, or I'll disqualify you. That's the end of this conversation now.
Thirdly, they have put over on commentary, and it is not that far of an intellectual leap to consider, the ref wants the match to go on because we're trying to do a program. Guys, if you could... All right, but stop. I know it's fun and the fans love it, but come on. Can we... Fourthly, the fact that this ref does mug about it. Like, no, guys, come on.
It does, it adds an extra layer.
Just two. Please, just two men in the ring.
It adds an extra layer. I'm not super mad about it. It is peak indie wrestling nonsense.
Sure.
I think it was really fun and really cool, and I liked this match a lot. But boy howdy, does it portray some bad habits.
Or just a new paradigm that is going to take some getting used to.
Fair enough, yeah.
I like a lot of Lucha Libre. I like a lot of trios matches, and the rules are very fast and loose. If one of the main competitors gets out of the ring, guess what? Everything is free space. So...
And if that's the rule, if that was established as the rule set we were operating under, that'd be different.
Well, and people have been begging to bring in a trios championship. I don't think they need to. But...
I think the Super Click has been begging to bring in a trios championship because fucking look at them, they're buddies.
Well, and you've got, Jungle Express, Jurassic Express has got a bunch of friends they frequently wrestle with.
Yeah. And a great fucking theme song.
Yes. But they don't need it, but I could see, adopt some more Lucha Libre rules. You've got a lot of Lucha Libre talent, why not use that?
Yeah, establish the rules as different, and then that clears up the confusion and leaves you room to do your 19 super kick circle or whatever it is you want to do this week.
Sure. That being said, man, did they make Luchasaurus look strong for losing.
Oh, yeah. That whole match was structured around... making it a handicap match so that they had a prayer of beating Luchasaurus.
This is in close contention for second best match of the card.
Oh yeah, it was super great.
With the 4-on-4 match, I think. Chiefly, brought up... You brought up something that you heard on the internet regarding Tim Curry. That for every 1-star movie he's in, he's the reason it has 1 star.
Yeah. This
was raised an entire star rating because Luchasaurus chokeslammed a motherfucker into another motherfucker he was choking at the time.
Yeah. Goddamn, that was the coolest spot. Look, hitting a motherfucker with another motherfucker is always a great way to get in my good books. It is a great spot at almost every occasion. And he goozled one dude. And then reverse goozled the other one, and I went, wait, what's he gonna do there? And then he just chokeslammed a motherfucker into another motherfucker, and I couldn't be happier.
It was amazing. Great match. Moving into an okay match.
This match could have been better. In a lot of ways.
I like the psychology, and I like the build, and obviously the early portion of this feud. We're looking at Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, also known as the Man with No Offense.
Boy, I honestly think that might have been to his benefit for me. Scorpio Sky is another wrestler I've been hearing people crow about for years that I have basically no experience with, and I was pre-gaming to not have Kenny Omega-style hype backlash for him.
Well, and that would be really unfortunate for him because, he's older now.
And then... He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything.
He did a chop block and 2 roll-ups. I think he might have thrown an elbow at one point.
That's good, because it means there's nothing for me to be upset about. He's just doing his job. He's a heel wrestler. No one else will get that joke. He stole the win.
The Men of the Year, I should say. It's a good gimmick.
Oh, hell yeah, it's a great gimmick.
Yeah, I like the way they're playing this. I like Dan Lambert's punchable face.
Yeah, I mean, look. Insufferable fucking boomer. I'm not gonna specifically name him because, well, he might be more popular than me, but he doesn't deserve my platform. It's a send-up of another person. But is great. It's a great heel gimmick. Insufferable Boomer Dad is just a great heel gimmick, even if it's not clearly a specific send-up.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a specific send-up for a couple of weeks.
Look, it might not be intended as one. It might just be a hilarious coincidence.
And John Huber wasn't playing Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
They win here, and afterward, on a roll-up, as I mentioned. And afterward, a bunch of MMA guys with names I don't know stormed the ring and beat up Chris Jericho.
It's the dumbest thing I've seen AEW do. Full stop. It's the first thing they've done that has felt like WWE in a really negative way. I don't give a shit about these people. I don't give a shit about Flim Flam Madubu or whatever the fuck their names are. I don't know these people. I don't watch MMA. I don't care about MMA. I don't care that this one is the current MMA heavyweight champion. I never cared that fucking Brock Lesnar was the MMA champion.
Here's the thing I find interesting, and I think perhaps might be a move they're doing, because it's not too, far down the iceberg, as the saying goes. But it is a bit deeper than surface level. These guys are the heel stable. This is entirely, potentially, a WWE send-up and an intentional chain yank of the fans who don't know MMA. I mean, for the MMA guys, yeah, they're going to be excited. They know who all these people are, and they're really excited to see the MMA people. They're going to buy tickets. For the people who don't want to like this heel stable, here's 5 reasons. And you don't remember their names. Yeah.
Dan Lambert, as I understand it, was an MMA coach for a while. See, this is what MMA is to me in terms of pro wrestling. It's a fun anecdote. Like Jake Hager having an MMA career where he did really well is a fun anecdote. That's as far as it goes for me. So it's not even like... It doesn't even make them hateable. It just makes them replaceable fucking goons.
Well, and that works with what he's trying to do. I mean, obviously, fucking... Andalita Crashabonga is not going to cut a fucking promo. It's going to be Dan Lambert
surrounded by goons,
drinking his white Monster Energy drink on his lawnmower and talking about, whatever the fuck is pissing him off this morning.
It's going to be the what really grinds my gears segment, but surrounded by muscly men. Oh my god, it's also a Vince send-up.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, yeah. And it's, here comes big MMA guys to take all your titles and win against the regular wrestlers who are here performing every week. It's, what the fuck was that guy's name? Brock Lesnar's friend.
If that was intentional, this is Ninehead, but, I'm going to need to see some more.
I'm curious.
Show your work. I'm going to need to see some more papers on this one.
I'm here in this feud for the feud between Jericho and Dan Lambert anyway. I think Jericho was a great choice to go up against him.
Oh, yeah, it's 2 guys who are really good on the mic.
Yeah.
You put them on a mic, and you let them talk.
I find him, I find Dan a little cringy, and not in the modern sense, but in the historical sense, where, he makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he's doing really well.
In the same way that Don Callis might be really fun to hear on commentary, but boy, is he actually a garbage person.
Yeah. Before we move on, I do want to say Jake Hager continues to be an anomaly among human beings, somehow stronger than every creature. God, I now want to see Jake Hager versus Cesaro.
Hey, man, listen. The brass ring's not real. Come to AEW. It's better here.
Oh my God, Claudio. Swiss, my dude. Join Chugs. It's time. Just bring them all in.
But Jake Hager, as always, the best thing that ever happened to this talent, to this professional wrestler, is someone taking a microphone away from him and going, no, you look really fucking scary and you're really big. Shut the fuck up. You're not good at this. The lisp is something he could have gotten over if he was good. He's not. And he never
Cody Rhodes
has
a lisp.
been.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes has a lisp. Cody Rhodes has always had a lisp. You don't notice it because Cody Rhodes is really fucking good. He's good at promos. Jake Hager isn't. it's not everyone's bag of tricks, man. I'm not a fucking very good MMA fighter either, and no matter how much I trained, I never would be. It's just not his bag. Stand there, look fucking scary, and we can make some money together.
And he does, and he's incredible, and I love him. Moving on to that sexy 4-on-4 match I was talking about. The Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz wearing amazing Warriors cosplay outfits.
Yeah.
They had the beer bottles and a baseball bat and everything. It was very good. Against Private Party and Butcher and the Blade.
Yep. I don't know how much I have to say about this match. This match is the first time I empathized with our Journey of Wrestling audience. Whereas if you put so many people in a tag match, it begins to become an unbelievable...
It was just a big, unwieldy spot fest, and because of the way the commercial breaks ran, they didn't lower it to picture-in-picture. We didn't get to see the part where everything kind of calmed down. So like, when we came back, it was like, it's just a wrestling match now, shush.
It becomes kind of an untrackable melange of wrestling moves. I really like all the people in this match.
Yeah, and there were a lot of great spots.
There were a lot of great spots. This was really fun. At one point, Orange Cassidy came out. It was all a good time. But this one lost me, man. I got to admit it.
I was really excited for it. I was really happy to see it. But you bring up a good point. And to that extent, I would probably say that the 3-on-3 earlier was the second best match of the card. Afterward, Lucha Brothers and company went over. Matt Hardy cut a promo against Orange Cassidy because Orange Cassidy keeps interfering every time he tries to cut someone's hair, which is Matt Hardy's fetish.
Matt Hardy's insane. This is his current this week insane.
No, he's a perfectly stable money guy. This is what money guys are like.
Yes, he's insane. That's what I said.
But he finally challenged him to a hair versus hair match for next week. He challenged Orange Cassidy to fight Jack Evans in a hair versus hair match, which is beautiful.
You versus Jack Evans. And the way he started to point to himself and then his hand turned in mid-point to Jack Evans. Mwah, gold.
Jack's reaction of, what? No, I love my hair.
I'll clearly lose to Orange Cassidy. What are you doing?
It was good. I should have expected it, and I didn't. So good job.
Yeah, it was a good swerve. That's what a swerve should be. Fun.
There was also a point where Miro came out and beat the crap out of Sammy Guevara and something.
The luchador Miro has been punishing.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Redeeming, excuse me.
Yes. He's been redempted.
And he lost a car as a result.
Yeah. How evil. Miro just destroyed them both. Just killed them live on television.
Just killed them both, and then went to go home and fuck his wife who loves him. I fucking love that gimmick so much. It's so good.
It's the first time you hear him cut a promo, you're like, is this real life?
And then he just, yes, he looks you dead in the eyes and completely seriously goes, yes, this is what I'm going with, and I'm taking it entirely seriously. I love it. Unironically, I will redeem you for the glory of my God, and then I will go home and fuck my wife who loves me very much. And I'm a champion, and I'm undefeated. Fuck you, Vince McMahon. Fuck you right in the ear.
Which is Vince McMahon's fetish. Speaking of Vince McMahon's fetish, two blonde women wrestled. Anna Jay and Penelope Ford.
That was forgettable.
I liked Penelope Ford. Anna Jay was kind of missing some steps, too. The bunny showed up, and I appreciate her scary face.
You said last time, or maybe you said it off podcast, that you couldn't tell whether you really liked the bunny or really hated her. Have you come down on the side?
No, not yet. I'm still... I'm glad she's there, one way or the other. I just don't know how I feel. She's a little unhinged, and she does that well because I would believe it in real life. Like, if I read a story that was like, whoever the real name of the bunny is a bunny boiler, I would go, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
All right. Wow. I mean, I'm so sorry for that bunny and the bunny's friends, but this tracks. This is just evidence supporting a theory I had.
Yeah.
And if not, what a great actress.
So the one section of AEW that I think has, at least so far as I've watched it, has been lagging behind what the competition has on offer is the women's wrestling. It's just nothing that's happened there since I started watching AEW, and that might be on me. I might have just missed some really cool shit. Has risen to the level of the actual really good women's wrestling matches that WWE has.
There's a couple of problems. One, they're not booking them in matches where they shine. With the exception being
I really like that wild card battle royale.
Yeah.
That's about as good as they did, but that's a battle royale that's inherently hype. I don't
Sure.
know if that counts for.
Right. In singles matches, we haven't seen a lot of really great women's action, and I just don't think they've had the right wrestlers in the ring facing each other. They might have one really good wrestler against one who's not as good, but instead of one lifting the other up or whatever, it's just sort of a mismatch.
And don't get me wrong, look, the WWE has a long and storied history of putting on fucking absolute garbage tier women's wrestling. Don't get me wrong. These ladies are doing a great job on the overall balance of history. But in terms of, like, recent material, it's just... It's not quite matching up.
No, they've had a rough start, and they've only relatively recently ballooned out their women's roster. Part of the issue is that they don't have a lot of time, all things considered. It's nice for us, the fans, to be going and watching only 2 shows a week, and we could be watching Dark. We're not gonna, but we could be.
There's a line, guys.
Yeah, sure, but it's there if you want to watch it. It's much more their NXT, if you will. But they just, I would like to see Penelope Ford against Britt Baker.
Or Penelope Ford against fucking Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa's good.
I would like to see more, well, I guess a lot of the other matches we've seen have been pretty decent with, there's so many new names I'm forced to memorize. The white-haired lady.
The big lady, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
she's
remember her
really
name
good.
But I know, it's not coming to me. The one who has muscles where I don't have places.
Yeah. Y'all know who we're talking about. She's on the image. She's near Cody Rhodes. It's
But
not
yeah, she's
Eddie
really,
Kingston.
she's got that it factor. I don't think
Sure.
she's an amazing pro wrestler quite yet, because as I understand it, she seems like she's pretty green. But that's just how they're selling her, I think, or what I've gathered. But she's got it. She's got the superstar factor, as it were.
I think we'll see better and better as time goes on, and that has been the case so far. It's just that this is the echelon we're at right now.
Look, in a perfect world, it would just be pro wrestling. Ideally, it would just be like Penelope Ford versus like fucking Scorpio Sky. In my perfect world, that's what would be happening. But if we're gonna have women's wrestling as a separate thing, this is the one area you're lagging behind in.
I believe they'll get there. It just takes time and practice and et cetera, et cetera. That being said, Penelope Ford won. There was a pretty good confrontation afterward with the 2 different stables, and it seemed like the Dark Order had cohesion again, but then Evil Uno got upset and left for some reason.
It's about a week. October's coming.
Sure is. Happy birthday to me. Let's get to our main event of the entire event. That is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston with, against, I should say, Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer. I'm not a Minoru Suzuki mark.
But if you are, this match was probably really fun.
Moreover, this was an Eddie Kingston match. This was a lights-out tag team match, which basically meant no rules, which basically meant the ref was only there to count the pinfall and cringe
he
a lot.
did a really good version of mugging, where he just sort of spent the whole match actively cringing at things because he had no authority. That's nice. That's fun. This match was good.
It was fine.
I'm not gonna say it wasn't good. It was a garbage match. It was a hardcore match.
I'm not from New York, so I don't really care that much about Eddie Kingston, and I've never really been a fan of his. He's fine.
He's a good pro wrestler. Look, I don't know the man personally. I've said this before. There's unknowable to what extent that is a character and to what extent it not being a character is kayfabe. But boy, fucking howdy is his character insufferable.
He's not the kind of guy we'd hang out with. But he's a New York local, so how do you send the fans home happy by having their boy win?
You have the hometown boy make good.
Also, Homicide showed up
to help Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley cheat to win.
It wasn't cheating.
There's no rules.
Yeah. Honestly, as I said at the time, there should have been more of the Suzuki Goon.
Yeah, like you got more dudes. Suzuki.
Use them.
Bring a whole crowd in. That'd be fun.
And much like the first card, this one ends a little bit for me. I like Mox, but I would have Mox a step down the card if he's not going to be, wrestling for the championship.
I think he's in the right place. I think this is the thing he really wants to do.
Sure.
And he's in a place where he can do passion projects, and I'm happy for him.
Sure. I'm not going to start watching...
This was a fun hardcore match.
Yeah, I'm not going to start watching Japanese wrestling because of this. Just because their payment structure confuses me, and I always miss it.
And I'm not going to watch NJPW because I haven't till now, and I'm not going to start. I'm going to be honest.
I like how we open this podcast with try new things, broaden your horizons, and we're closing it with no, I don't wish to.
Look, I'm already in the middle of trying one, all right? Give me a minute.
But I'm not going to jump to it, first of all, because that's too much wrestling. I'm already watching this.
This is about as much wrestling as I want to be watching.
Yeah, and secondly, it's a lot. It's a big hurdle to get over.
Look, we could also be watching, like, fucking Impact. They have a lot more integration with Impact as a promotion. They got champions crossing over, people having matches on both. It's part of the same wrestling cinematic universe, as it were. But I'm sure not going to fucking watch Impact either. Like, this is as much wrestling as I want to be watching.
Yeah.
So, this is mostly just, hey, this is a really cool guy you don't know, but at least he's a pro wrestler. And then he has a cool match. Okay, fine, cool.
Yeah, it's fine. He's a good character. I wouldn't have this as my main event. Just, not your piss break match, but a step down.
It's because, you're right, this match was for Eddie Kingston. Eddie got the pinfall. Yeah. He's the hometown guy. This was their first match in New York. He is a caricature of a New Yorker. This was his match.
Yeah. Booking-wise, I get it completely. As a fan watching,
I'm not a New Yorker, so it doesn't hit.
I maybe would have put the super click on. They're big.
Yeah. They're big.
But I am excited for what's coming forward. We'll be back to talk more about supercards and pay-per-views when they occur. Otherwise, this is the Two Nerds Podcast.
All right, no, I actually want to say this for once. We don't remember where our sign-off line came from. It's a joke that's so far into the deep mists of history that neither of us can recall where it came from.
Like Ultimo Dragon being all of you.
But it is, in fact, our sign-off line, and we can't find any reason to change it. Everything's better when nerds talk about it.